Agent Ritter, 10:10 p.m., Twin Hills Desert, just outside of Fud City. After crawling out of the gaping hole, we stood atop the enormous craft. Wells hoisted up the tiny leader and held it like a watermelon. He then walked to the side of the ship and stood there while motioning to the ground below. "We can slide down this," he said, looking down. His sunglasses slipped off of his entrail-lubricated ears, smacking the unconscious alien in the face. Its eyes bugged as they opened. "Rah!" The creature screamed as it flailed violently. "Ew!" Wells screamed and he threw his arms into the air, dropping the extraterrestrial. The creature rolled down the side of the ship like a lumpy gourd. We heard a thump about a second later as it disappeared off the side of the ship. Wells stood there for a moment, not making eye contact with Scully or I. We slid down the side of the craft to the desert below. Wells dusted off the unconscious creature that he dropped like a sack of old potatoes and grabbed it by the wrists. We dragged the creatures behind us and saw a car with lights on in the distance. "There's our backup," I said as we headed towards the creature standing next to it. A beautiful woman with brown-red hair in a blue dress suit and brown calf-high boots stood next to a modified purple DeLorean. "Director Squee, thank you for the assist," I called as we continued to slide the creatures with us. "You're welcome," she said with a half-smile. Sitting in the wheel well of the car were FIM-92 rockets, and beside them on the ground was the accompanying Stinger rocket launcher. "Interesting choice of sidearm you've got there," Scully said, eyeing the rockets. "Gets the job done," Squee said with a raised eyebrow. As we came to a stop, we could hear engines humming in the distance. "So what's the status?" Squee asked me. "None of us are seriously hurt. We have 2 ETs with us that are mostly alive, 2 inside the ship that are mostly dead, and 1 that got ejected from the ship when the second rocket hit," I responded. "Do you think that one might be alive?" Squee asked. "Possibly. These creatures are very resilient to physical trauma," Scully replied. "Is there a possibility that there's more ETs inside?" Squee asked. "Unlikely, but safe than sorry is a good motto to go by. A sweep of the inside should do the trick." 3 vans pulled up with a TH logo on the side. 2 people stepped out of each van and walked to the back, opening the doors to pull out giant spacesuits they put on. 6 of them walked over after getting dressed to consult with Director Squee. "We are looking for 2?" the bulky spacesuit asked. "Yes, there are likely 2 more of them in the craft somewhere. 1 got ejected and is in the desert somewhere out here. Be wary, as they seem to be very resistant to physical forms of trauma. Shooting one and expecting it to go down might be a bad idea, so keep your eye on them at all times." The spacesuit nodded and walked over to the other suits, who constructed a giant, sturdy-looking ladder to place on the side of the craft. We placed the 2 creatures on the ground near the spacesuit team, who walked over with what looked like giant futuristic dog kennels. I took off my examination gloves and put them in the hazardous waste bin they had set to the side. The team started towards the creatures. "Wait one moment," Scully said as she strolled back towards the creature with the bandage across the top of its head. She kicked it once right in the crotch, then again. Dust swirled in the lights of the vans. "Wells did make a promise," Scully said, so I nodded back and shrugged. "Yeah." Scully waved the spacesuits on and they proceeded to put the little beings inside of the kennels. "So who gave you the tip?" Squee asked. "I don't know," I replied. "I honestly thought it was Wells until I found out he was on vacation." I continued. "That was a smart move calling me when you did, Wells, but why didn't you use your phone?" Squee asked. I glared at Wells and grasped the pockets of my pants and jacket in furious ham-boning gestures. He produced a phone from the back of his swim shorts. "Thanks again, Ritter," he said as he tossed my phone back to me. Instinct took over and I thrust my right hand out as I caught the phone. "Ugh," I sighed. I repeated the plastic bag process. "If you don't need us at this time, we can go take care of our written reports," I said. "Sounds like a good idea. Scully, let Ritter show you the filing procedures. We have special cabinets for these files just in case someone gets the idea to try and expose the TH division to the public. And Wells," she called as Wells turned his head expectantly, "you need to take a shower. I don't know what you were covered in, but it looks like trifle and smells like something that died and washed up on a beach." Wells cocked an eyebrow and then sniffed around and then nodded. Squee packed the artillery away in her vehicle and started to get back in the driver's seat. "Are you not staying here to oversee this gets resolved?" Scully asked. "I don't need to. The rest of this job is for the cleanup crew now. We have very competent agents," Squee replied, then looked at Wells. "Mostly competent agents, if not unique. I have a bubble bath and water-damaged books to get back to," she continued and closed the door. "Okay, Scully, I guess it's time to go back," I said, motioning back towards the parking lot of Fud City. "Yeah, can you drive? I want to get a head start on that report on the way back." "A bath sounds really good right about now," Scully said, flicking tiny purple bits of goo off of her suit. Wells put his broken sunglasses back on with an indignant look. Man on the hill, 10:25 p.m., on the hill outside of Fud City. I stood watching the crew going to work on the spacecraft as they threw a large tarp over it. One member was holding the creature he presumably picked up from the desert. It looked as though they were walking towards the ship in vans from the opposite direction of where I was standing. I smiled and stirred my drink, a vodka soda. After a few moments, I took a sip. Very good, I said as I walked away straightening my pineapple tie. That is the conclusion of Big Trouble at Fud City. Thank you for playing.